I find myself here where I have control of one leg, okay? I'm not going to work to step in, so I'm not pushing one down and lifting one up. I'm simply going to work to elevate to make it harder for him to shrimp towards me. The higher I bring his leg, the less likely he is to rotate immediately to the hip, the more likely he becomes to rotate away. So when I find myself here, I want to make sure that I keep the foot elevated using the arm on the same side that I intend to go towards. And then I'm going to begin to shuffle and flank. When I begin to shuffle and flank, I can pretty well anticipate that the guy, if he's experienced, is going to high pummel over and he's going to reface or square up again in that manner, okay? But when I'm here, what I'm looking for is very quickly elevation, and I want to cut this angle here where when I shuffle, I want to get to the line of his hips. So we call this the J point or the jeopardy point. If I can get out here, he's in danger of me passing his guard. So when I come and I find that I'm able to create this angle without him lowering his leg, I'm going to begin to swim my left arm over, and what I'm looking for is my elbow to turn up towards the ceiling, and I want to be able to bring my hand to the hip on the far side. If I can do that before he turns his knee back into me, there's a high probability that I can begin to lower my level. I like to personally place my hand on the mat with my four fingers turning out, and then I shuffle again in a manner where I almost jump and cut the angle, but I'm looking to take my left foot back underneath his far quad, and then I'm using that motion here to turn his hip in that direction. So if you notice, I brought myself from my hand to my elbow to my knee, and then I've cut this really severe angle where my foot on the far side there is on the inside ridge, but it's taking his knee and it's extending it away, which is keeping his hip locked out towards the mat. So if I'm holding tight to this grip on the tight waist, as I'm making this motion across, I can continue to step and shuffle, whether it be on my elbow, my hand, or my knee, and I can put a lot of tension into his bottom hip. And what this is going to encourage him to do is turn away, okay? At a higher level, instead of turning away and just going to the turtle and accepting that advantage, the guy is most inclined to build up to his right elbow. Okay, when he builds up to his right elbow, if I'm not careful here with my angle and I'm not keeping a diagonal pressure driving into him, there's a chance I get knocked down. If I get knocked down, that's okay. I can just be here, and then anytime I need to, I can take a little shuffle step and I can build back up. It's not terribly difficult to do that. But what I need you to understand is this is not a conventional leg drag where my knee is going forward over the space of my foot and touching the mat, because he'll kick through that and then he'll pull me into leg entanglements. This is a leg drag in which I stay to that inside ridge of my foot and I angle my knee back down towards the hip. Okay, so here again, we're going to fight to get to that position, and my partner is going to build up to the elbow. Okay, and then we're going to add one thing to it and we're going to work off of that. So for right now, to start, go ahead, hand fight, elevate the legs. When we elevate the leg, I want to try to control towards the same side that I intend to flank towards. I shuffle. If I find that I'm beating the angle of the knee right here, then this hand is going to swim across on an angle towards the far hip. I'm going to level change, bringing my hand down first so that I have something to actively post off of as I cut across here. And then I can build again to the hand if I need to. I can always angle my knee back in this motion here and take that step to try to control tighter into this tight waist. Okay, again, here, he's creating a little bit of pressure by back heeling here, bringing that knee chambered towards the chest, and he's coming up to his elbow, and that's forcing me to have to take these consecutive steps to follow and keep tension towards the hip. And is coming down, is turning and angling this knee back to the inside of my hip. Okay, if he can do that, a lot of times it's going to force me to come back and change the style of passing that I'm using. But let's assume now that he doesn't create a severe angle, because I am doing a good job of taking this penetrating step and angling my knee in. So he just gets the point of his knee to turn in front of my hip here. So as he's coming across, you can do a little bit more than that. As he's coming here, his knee comes back to the front side of my hip. He's no longer built up on the elbow, okay? But what's happening here is his knee has become a wedge between my chest and his, and I don't have the same level of control of the hips. So if I try to just come across, I'm going to get forced back and I'm going to lose my balance. And there's a high probability that I'm going to end up dropping to my butt. So when I find myself here, I'm going to work to angle this hand where my fingers are facing away if I wasn't already doing so. and I'm going to drive off of the toes of my right foot, and I'm going to begin to use this tight waist, this hand that's controlling the hip, as my anchor to come forward. When I come forward, a lot like what we had done in previous weeks, I'm going to look to blade my chest and angle my knee towards my foot. This is going to give me the ability to continue to shuffle, but as I shuffle, my right foot is going to come forward, my left leg is going to again turn the hip over, and then I'm going to drive my right knee through this gap, take my knee towards the mat, and then I begin to step up and over, okay? When I'm here, a lot of times you start to get pushed away. This guy starts to frame. We can take a moment to try to push and come back into our head and arm. That's the easy solution. What I'm going to have you guys work towards today is something a little bit unconventional. So when I find myself here, what I'm actually going to do is work to take my second knee towards the mat and then come to a base on both knees, okay? When I do this, I'm going to angle my right foot back so that my knee comes just above his patella, and then I'm going to drive that. As I drive that, I'm going to put a significant amount of pressure on towards my left hip, and I'm going to force his legs into this split position. A lot of times here, my partner isn't able to build the same way because I can begin to bury my head in my chest and even lock my hands together. So what he works to do is flatten out. And when he flattens out here, it gives me the ability to control. And as he builds his right arm underneath him, it becomes very easy to again grab the Sagistani grip, and then I can start to work over, and he almost gives me the mount for free. Okay, so we end up in a position where we can go to rear mount, but what we're looking for is this splay in our partner's legs where they are less likely to continue to try to fight towards me and more inclined to either try to turn and build up to the elbow or simply work back to this type of position to come back up to all fours. Okay, but again, we're chaining a lot of these same concepts. From the leg drag, we're going into this like leg weave, side smash style pass. So again, you guys find yourself here, partner builds, and he gets his knee back in. From this position here, I try to maintain what connection I can. I don't just try to step across because his wedge is in place. I come here to the hand, turning out. I come here to the base of the foot, and I lean forward, putting weight over his knee, and then I transition, blading my shoulders and my knees. I use this to drive him to the side, and then I go so far as to split the gap here with my right knee. As I do this, I transition weight to my left side. I bring in my knee to the mat, angling my knee just above his. And then as I pressure here, I find very often times my partner will come to a position like so. And then I just maintain the connection. I drive forward. And then it's pretty easy to build up over his knees. There's not a lot you can do to resist at that point with my body weight transitioning on that angle. When I'm flanking, if I start to motion for the leg drag, but I don't necessarily drop down to the knee, just by creating this angle here, the knee-jerk reaction for most people is going to be to try to make that shift and square back with that knee shield, okay? So exactly like he did, right? We don't want to get over-rotated towards that side, so we try to recompose our guard. So when I find myself here, as soon as his knee starts to come in, if I can keep any type of connection towards the backside of his hamstring over here, I can basically sit. Okay, so my hand is still going to come to the mat. The only difference is my right leg is not going to shift behind. It's going to rotate over the top. So what I'm going to look to do here is control towards the cap of the knee. My right hand is going to go towards the mat, and my right leg is going to work to rotate in this type of fashion right here. As my right foot comes in this back heeling motion, my left leg is going to extend away with my foot still in dorsiflex to catch the outside of this spar leg and prevent him from coming through. That kicks his legs a little bit wider open. It encourages the angle with which my right foot can continue to thread through. And then when I'm here, I want to be conscious of my right knee, because if I don't finish the submission right away, I want this wedge in place. I don't want my wedge to get pushed over towards the inside because one, he can build up, and two, he can force to regain his knee line with a thumb post on the back of my leg. So again, when you guys are here and you flank, instead of level changing, so we find ourselves here, I take this step, I release, As I release, my right hand goes down, my right leg comes through, my left leg gives that little kick out to ensure that I can cross at the ankles because I'm not closing a figure four. Makes it easier for him to push. I'm just crossing ankle over ankle, trying to keep the wedge in place, but then my upper body is rotating against my lower body and I'm looking to get a catch on the heel. You guys don't necessarily have to do that last portion. You don't have to force the inside heel hook, but understand that is a really viable leg entry, especially if the guy tries to frame you away, right? So again, we're here, I elevate, I begin to flank. When I take this step, he turns in. I'm just coming here, posting towards the mat, and then my right leg is swiveling through as my left leg is kicking across. And then I don't want to turn my whole body here, because it turns my knee down. I just want to keep my wedge in place and rotate my upper body to look for that initial catch on the heel. And the more you guys practice that in the same fashion that we initially practiced just rotating hip to hip for the leg drag, the easier it becomes to find the foot. We lift. As soon as the guy makes this motion here, we're already stepping the left leg across. He's going to post this right hand to the mat. This leg is going to come through, gives that little extension. And then if you see here for me, I don't want to try to just stay flat. I want to come up and try to thumb post. He's bringing that left elbow back towards his ribs and his hip, and that's where he gets the catch on the foot. So if I'm not really quick at recognizing this and splitting, hiding my heel, there's a good probability that he's going to get at least one attack off with that inside heel hook. Does that make sense for everybody? All right, guys, hands up, 1, 2.